So today I'm going to show you my DJI Osmo Action 3 camera in action. Last week I did the unboxing and kind of showed you, just kind of the initial setup. And so today I wanted to kind of show you how it is that me having a visual impairment am able to use this. Some things here that I'm going to kind of show you. I'm not going to go through every single setting, because that just would be really kind of daunting. But one of the things that I find the most useful is a brightness setting, because if you're outside, you need it to be really bright, but when you're inside, you maybe don't need it that bright. So you can kind of adjust the brightness so that you can make it whatever is comfortable for you. So this is a touch screen, which is really handy. And I'm going to swipe this way and I can go to video. And then when I swipe up, I now have all my resolutions. So within this window, we have up here, you can go to your stabilization, and they have no stabilization, and it'll show you a little bit of what's happening. So that's helpful. So you can come here to rock steady. That's pretty good. This is really good for if you're doing something, especially if you're talking action and you want to do, you're on a bicycle, riding down a trail, you're on a roller coaster, you want to show a little bit of movement. Those are kind of some of your options. This one, it's a little bit slower response, so it would be a little bit, you can just kind of get a feel for exactly what you want. This is your horizon steady, so you can turn it and it still will, kind of keep it steady as you're like doing stuff. So that's really helpful. I have been keeping it on rock steady. If you notice, this one crops in a little bit more. So this is where you kind of have to just get a feel for what you specifically want your thing to look like. I can't tell you exactly what settings are best for you, because it depends on what you're using it for. But that does bring up an interesting thing. If you swipe down here, this right here is all your different profiles that you can create. So I have created a profile that I think for just general usage, but what you can do is you can create a profile, and this is where this is handy for having visual impairment. If I am out shooting, I don't want to have to stop and figure out all of my different settings. I would come over here and I have all of these different options, and I can make whatever changes I want to make, and that's good, that's helpful. But maybe you want a different type of camera setup if you are talking more of vlog style, where you're kind of walking and talking. Maybe you want something a little bit different if you're showing specifically scenery. Maybe you want something different if you are actually doing an action type scene and you need, you're going to need things a little bit different. So this gives you the opportunity to set those up ahead of time in, where you can actually see what you're doing. So if I need to use my magnifying glass and read stuff, I can do that at home, have my profiles, I can even name them if I want to, and then I know, okay, I'm getting ready to shoot this thing. So I just have to swipe down, click on the little person, and click to whichever one it is I want to do, and then I'm good to go. I don't have to see every little thing on the screen. I will say, like I said, this is a legally blind person review. This is actually really, and again, I want to be careful when I say that. Everyone's vision is a little bit different. If you've been following this channel, you know that I have albinism, so my vision is going to be a little bit different. This would probably be really hard for your typical legally blind person. Another trick that I kind of use is that I kind of start to remember where things are. If I want to adjust the frame rate, the resolution, the stabilization, I swipe up. If I want to adjust things like the white balance, how wide my lens is, things like that, I go here. If I want to change from video to picture, I swipe over. If I want to see my old material, I swipe this way. If I need to get to my account settings, my different profiles, the brightness, I swipe down. So I start learning what things I need to do without having to read them. So that's the other thing I would say. Another handy thing that this particular camera has is it has an app that corresponds to it. And what's kind of neat about that, I'm going to see if I can make this so you can see what's happening. I have it on my iPad right now because I can put it on my phone. I mean, I have it on my phone, but I can't film with my phone and my... So I have this on my phone also. So this is the app. I have this right now on my iPad just so you can see it because I would use it on my phone. But this is generally what it looks like. When you download the app, you Bluetooth connect to the camera, it walks you through the steps. What's nice about this is if you're wanting to film and make sure that you are for sure seeing what you need to see, if the screen really isn't big enough, you can pull your phone out and use that as a monitor. So I can just turn like this and I can just look at the iPad and be able to tell if I'm in the shot the way I want to be, if I'm level, if I'm framed up, all that kind of stuff. I can tell. So that is probably one of the most handy features that there would be, and that is going to help you to know for sure if you are in frame, if you are seeing what you think you're seeing, would be the best way to say that. So now we're going to do a comparison, a side-by-side comparison. I have the DJI set on 1080p, 30 frames a second, 25 frames per second, one of those two, I can't remember now. And I have it set on rock steady, and I have it set to wide angle. So it's pretty similar to my iPhone 14, which is what we're comparing this to. And I'm just showing you that so that you can kind of have an idea of a couple of things. One, the image stabilization. You kind of get an idea of how similar they are. Two, the color quality, video quality. And three, the audio quality. So we can take a look at the audio that is the native microphone on the iPhone. This is the iPhone 14 Pro Max audio. And then we can look at the audio on the DJI Osmo Action 3, the native mic on the Action 3. I will eventually get a microphone because in quieter conditions like this, it's not quite as big of a deal if you don't have a microphone. But with a lot of situations, you get wind blowing, things like that, it's not a bad idea to have the microphone, but you can get an idea of how good the microphone is just by itself. So here we are kind of on the front-facing side of the camera, just so you can tell the front-facing camera on the iPhone in comparison to the Action 3. It's the same camera, but with the Action 3, you only have front facing. So if you want to do selfie mode, you have to turn it around. And that's not too bad. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't that a really small screen on the front? How are you able to see if you're in the screen? Well, like we've talked about before, we kind of look for other ways to kind of help us have clues as to whether we're in screen and stuff. One of those being, I can see light above my head right now, so I know that the top of my head is not being cut off. And I can see my shirt. I can see the color of my shirt along the bottom, which means the bottom of my face is not cut off. So things like that help me to know
that I'm in screen. And that's really good.
So hopefully this kind of answers some questions for you about whether or not this camera is going to work for you with your visual impairment. Like I've said before, we have different visual impairments, and so this video may not have been as specific related to yours. If there's anything I did not answer, or that you would be interested in me going a little bit further in detail about, to further explain something from a visual impairment perspective, go ahead and leave that in the comments, because I really do want to help people to be able to have the information they need to know whether or not something is going to work for them.